Um, what wasn't boring was the championship fight.
That was a good segue.
I'm getting good at these transitions, man.
That was a good transition. That was really good.
But yeah, so we had Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson in the interim championship bout for lightweight at 155.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, so that was a fun one to watch right off the bat. These guys were very busy the whole entire fight. It went the full 5 rounds.
They both have cardio for days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy, that's one of those things he's known for. He's known for slicing people up with his elbows. He's known for having very weird angles and a very hard fighting style to diagnose, and he's known for his cardio. You know, I mean, they tell stories famously where he trains for 6 hours straight with no water breaks.
Not even surprised. And then he's just tough as they come, man.
I like, obviously you knew he was a tough guy and whatnot. Some of the strikes that he was just eating flush to the face. And
Gaethje's got dynamite in his fists, man.
Oh my God,
he's not throwing light punches.
He knocks people straight out, like cold.
Mm-hmm.
And Ferguson was just eating these strikes, but not even reacting. Like, there was no reaction. It wasn't even like a stumble or, his eyes rolling back or anything like that. He just got cracked in the mouth and then came right back. It was so impressive to watch. So
it was like watching a tuning fork that's in the ground, and all the energy after you hit it disperses back into the ground.
Yeah.
You saw in the beginning of the fight, Tony was he was a little busier than Gaethje in the beginning, I would say, the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But man, after a while, you saw Justin Gaethje with great head movement, and then you also saw that his counter fighting. And this is another thing that I saw very predominant within a lot of these fights on this card was the counter punching was on point, and that's kind of what led people to have those big cuts.
Gaethje put on a clinic of counter. A absolute clinic of counter striking, and not only counter striking, but if you'll notice, most people throw combos in 2s, maybe 3s.
Oh, he was throwing 8-punch combos,
and he's counter punching with 6, 7, 8-punch combos. If you notice, if you go back and watch, almost every time it was that last strike is what landed on the counter punching, and it was almost like that was the punch you didn't expect to come. 1, 2, 3, 4, you think it's done, and then he comes out of nowhere with 5 and catches you. But the counter punching was absolutely sublime and a clinic in counter punching.
And his right hand was monstrous. But even Tony was fighting very well. Right around round 2, right towards the end of round 2, Tony,
I thought it was over.
Came with this beautiful uppercut and caught Justin Gaethje clean, put him right on his back, and I believe he was saved by the bell.
100%.
Yep.
I think so. Now, I don't think he was out.
No.
But I definitely could have seen a like a Cejudo Cruz type of
would have been a TKO.
Yeah, where he just wouldn't have been able to. Because listen, once Tony Ferguson jumps on you, and God forbid takes your back, that fight's pretty much over. I don't think Justin Gaethje has the jiu-jitsu acumen that Tony Ferguson does. So once that fight hit the ground, if Cucuy was able to get his back, I think that fight would have been done.
Classic save by the bell, and classic waiting too long for your big punches, man.
I mean, that was a perfectly timed.
Yeah, it was good timing, absolutely.
Kind of going back to what we said, it's not lucky, but that lucky punch, you know what I mean? It just happened to land so clean and perfectly. And it was actually Gaethje was throwing his own uppercut at that same time. So it almost exposed his chin a little bit because he was coming up with his own.
And Tony sees the opportunity.
Yeah, big time.
He sees that opportunity. I mean, third round was still looking pretty good. That's when you kind of saw that cut start to develop under Tony's eye. And that blood starts spurting out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in round 3 is when you really start seeing Gaethje feel a lot more comfortable, start ripping it a lot more, and accurately landing a lot of his strikes. So his right hand, just
That's the
accuracy.
That's the big thing, was the accuracy. And did you notice the biggest change between round 2 and round 3, like the pivotal thing, in my opinion, was Justin Gaethje's corner. So right between round 2 and round 3, when like you were 100% spot on. The accuracy was there, and you really saw Gaethje start to pull away from Ferguson in that third round. His corner was like, dude, take 10% off of your punches and just land them stiff. And you saw Gaethje listen. He, instead of swinging for the fences with these big wild strikes at the end of round 2, which is how he got caught, right? He's loading up this big, massive uppercut without setting it up. Now he pulls back. He's not pressing as hard. He's not attacking as hard. And he's just counter punching. He's not trying to knock Kukui out. He just wants to make sure he lands a nice stiff punch. And that's what he was doing. And it was, I mean, a perfect game plan. Perfect game plan. So kudos to his corner for identifying that, and kudos to Gaethje for listening.
Yeah. Even between the 4th and the 5th round, when you saw Gaethje getting really comfortable, his corner had to bring him back to earth and be like, "Hey, man, listen, you've been in this situation where you've been comfortable before, and you've been stopped." And Gaethje was like, "Nah, I've been stopped twice." Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
So, good corner work right there. And I know that you, on a personal level, can appreciate that because you have cornered many fighters over the years. So
yeah. It's one of those things where like you kind of have tunnel vision when you're fighting, and it's kind of hard to see the big picture. You know what you want to do. You kind of know what this guy's doing to you, but you don't have that, eagle eye view of what's really happening in the fight and the little nuanced things. When we're sitting in the corner, we're doing nothing but watching the other guy. You know what I mean? We're not really watching. You're not really watching your fighter. You're watching the other guy. There's always two cornermen. There's your main corner and there's your second corner. And, you kind of divide up amongst yourselves who you're going to watch. And you want to make sure that you're watching the opponent and you're watching what he does. You're watching how he's setting things up and how he's moving. People are creatures of habit. And if something's working, they're going to keep going back to the well. So kudos to the corner. I thought that the corner performance for Gaethje was the best of the night for all of the corners. And I think, in my opinion, it was definitely the biggest turning point, the biggest linchpin to that victory for Justin Gaethje was his corner work.
Huge. Absolutely huge. And then taking it right into the 5th round, you saw that Gaethje was hitting all his combos really well. Mm-hmm. You start seeing that big separation between the two where, like, Tony's actually getting beat up at this point.
Oh, big time.
He's getting beat up.
Yeah, and it comes back to the efficiency, like you said. I mean, Justin Gaethje's total strikes, he threw 197 total strikes. He landed 143 of them.
Jeez, man.
Okay.
So he landed about 75% of his strikes.
Absolutely. Okay. And by the way, 30 of those strikes were leg kicks.
Oh, my God.
Okay? Do you know how many leg kicks he threw? 30. He landed all of his leg kicks. 100% efficiency in his leg kicks.
Get out of here.
Yep. As opposed to Tony, we all know Tony's a volume guy. He has the gas tank for it. He threw 296 total strikes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
He landed 136 of them. So that efficiency means something, And again, when we're training in the gym together, and I tell you guys, your strikes have to have a purpose. What are you throwing this for? Why are you throwing this jab? Why are you throwing this cross? Why are you throwing that leg kick? Why are you hitting that teep? Why? And that's the cerebral aspect of it, is to upgrade that efficiency. And maybe I don't want to knock you out with this jab, but maybe I want to get your hands up so I can drill you in the liver,
Shout out to Jaisu Gym in Jersey. Shout out to Coach Miguel and all of the guys, Coach Corey, and all the guys that are training there every day and putting in that real hard work and grind. We see y'all.
Yep, big time. Big time. Can't wait to get back to the gym.
Yeah, for sure, man. So yeah, Tony was getting beat up. He got stunned with the jab. And the fight has to end in TKO because you kind of see how he's turning and he's not really exactly about to defend himself. I think the ref did a good job on that stoppage, even if
that's
it
when
didn't
his,
like it.
I think that's when his orbital bone broke. I think that's when they broke his eye socket.
Oh, well then, wonderful job, Herb Dean. Herb Dean's one of the best to do it, man. One of my favorite refs.
The best. Herb Dean is
Classic.
The absolute best. But yeah, dude, that nice stiff jab. And you see, I mean, it looked like a chunk of flesh came off of Tony's face, the amount of thick blood that came out. And it was Tony's reaction to it is what makes me think that was the strike that did it, because he was eating just, I mean, Lysol cans to the face. I mean, he was just getting bricked. No reaction. None. And then that little stiff jab came in and suddenly starts shaking his head. He starts putting,
That was the first time that you really saw that too.
Any sort, yeah. And he almost turned away from the fight, and he put himself in a really, really bad position. I get it, man. I'm stubborn. I don't ever want somebody to like you finish me. If we're fighting, you're gonna finish me. Nobody's gonna come in and be like, all right, he's had enough. No, you're not gonna embarrass me that way. I get it, but at the same time, man, like that was a good stop.
Yeah, agreed.
That was a solid stop.
Speaking of earlier, as you said, to Cruz. Speaking of like just classless wins, I also was not a big fan of seeing Gaethje walk up to Tony Ferguson and being like, "Bro, let me just show you a little bit of love." And I think Gaethje said it best: being an a-hole won't get you anywhere in life.
Yeah, I will say though, you kind of saw that that Tony, after he regained his composure and
heat of emotions.
Yeah. Because listen, I mean, think about it from Tony Ferguson's mentality, right? He's the interim lightweight champion. How many times has this fight with Khabib been canceled? What, 5 times?
Yeah, yeah. Like it's never gonna happen now. Right. Now that he lost this, it especially won't happen.
Fighting Justin Gaethje absolutely did not. It was a lose-lose.
It was going to do nothing for his career. Agreed.
It was going to do nothing for him. It was all the chips were in Justin Gaethje's pot with this fight. Justin Gaethje was ranked fourth.
Yeah, the fourth contender.
Fourth in the division. And Ferguson, because he's that guy, said, I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. And I'm so torn on this mentality because on one hand, I love it because I fight. I will fight anytime, anywhere, but I also don't do it for a living. It's not my business. And I think that's something that like really hurt Cowboy Cerrone in his career was him saying he'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. And he didn't pick his fights a little bit better.
And he had to step up to that. Yeah.
I feel like if Cowboy picked his fights a little bit better, he could have been a belt holder. In my opinion, he's the greatest UFC fighter to never win a championship.
Okay.
And you see now that this Tony Ferguson thing is a perfect example of looking at the business side of fighting, why you kind of need to pick your fights. And because now look at him, he's tumbled back down.
Yep. And you only have so much tread on the tires too, guys. Like you can honestly really only deal with certain amount of battle damage in your whole entire life. Yeah. So if you can do 30 fights, which is a lot of fights, guys, but if you can do 30 fights and still be healthy, you're not going to be as good as you were in your first 10 to 15 fights as you are going to be on the back end of that because you're hurt.
Mike Bisping said it the best. Nobody ever gets better after a fight.
Agreed. And he lost an eye.
Yeah. Nobody ever gets better after a fight. Every fight you leave a little bit still in the mat, every fight. And your first couple fights doesn't feel like a lot, but compound that over time, over damage, and Tony took a lot of damage.
A lot. He took a lot. And inhuman amount. Like there's you always see Tony bloodied up though, and that's why he's the boogeyman, because he's not only just bloodied up, he's bloodied up, smiling, licking it, and then like trying to chase you down to kill you.
Yeah, and he's always slicing everybody up, man, with those elbows. And I don't know, it's just it didn't look like the Tony Ferguson that I'm used to seeing in the UFC, and I don't know if maybe that's because he was preparing for Khabib. And maybe he worked on his ground game a lot more. And then, 14-day notice, here comes Justin Gaethje, who is just I'm going to plant my feet in the middle of the ring. and I'm going to eat everything you have, and I'm going to give you everything I have, and one of us is going to fall down. That's how Justin Gaethje fights. And so I don't know what it was, but I mean, when I tell you Justin Gaethje fought the perfect fight, like it was.
Absolutely. I didn't have him losing a round.
No,